This is Lauren Zaya. I'm a physical therapist assistant with Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance in Greenville, North Carolina, and I'm a comprehensively trained Pilates instructor through Body Arts and Science International. Today is day 14 of an at-home Pilates challenge of exploration. Today we're going to move through the fundamental exercise of spine stretch forward. But what I'd like to do is to set it up, I want to rewind back to our pelvic curl and really emphasize the idea of spinal articulation, which is experiencing movement in more of a segmental fashion. And so when we think of the spine, and definitely all the vertebra and the bony segments of the spine, just trying to appreciate motion and movement in as many of those parts through the spine and through some of these movements as possible. So let's start on your back. Setting up for the pelvic curl, my knees are bent, my feet are set up just a few inches apart, about the width of my seat bones, so no wider than the pelvis. Arms resting long by the sides, and we're going to start with the segment of the pelvis. We roll the bones of the pelvis back towards the face into that posterior tilt, and we're just going to float the bones of the pelvis off the mat. So just enough to where I can slide barely my hands underneath the pelvis. So I still feel that my lumbar spine, or the lower back, the rib cage area is like a swinging bridge. It's still hanging out on the mat. I lower the pelvis and the tail. So this time we roll the bones of the pelvis back towards the face. We lift the pelvis. Then we lift the lumbar area, which is our low back. So I still feel that my ribs are hanging out on the mat. I lower the lumbar, I lower the pelvis and the tail. Now, rolling the pelvis back towards the face. So we float the pelvis off, we float the lumbar off. We start to really reach through our knees as if they're going to go past the toes, and I lift the lower ribs off the mat. So still pretty much my breastbone or sternum area is still on the mat, but the rest of the segments we have allowed to lift off the mat. So now I lower the ribs, I lower the lumbar area or the low back, the pelvis and the tail. So now rolling the pelvis back towards the face, my pelvis elevates, my lumbar area comes off the mat, my rib cage or the lower rib cage. Now we're going to continue to lift, continue to reach through the knees until pretty much I've just got my head, my neck, my collarbone, and the top of my arm or the humerus still resting on the mat. And I say that, and you really do want the whole chain of the arm on the mat, but as we're talking kind of landmarks of the spine. Now from here, you're going to lower back down, breastbone, rib cage, lumbar, pelvis, and tail. Let's do that one more time. So we roll back, we first lift the pelvis, the lower back, the lower ribs, reach through the knees and try to get the last part of kind of the rib cage off the mat, the breastbone off the mat, but we've still got the collarbones resting on the mat or the floor. Lowering down in opposition, so sternum area comes down, rib cage area, lower back, pelvis, and tail. So that's spinal articulation, segmental movement. We went kind of from tail up towards the head. Now, with our spine stretch forward, we're going to move from top down to tail. Arms extend. Imagine that your spine is up against a wall behind you. We begin to peel off. So the head comes first. Then the segments of kind of the shoulder girdle area, the rib cage. I'm flexing through the spine or rounding through the spine as much as I can. Now to do this without necessarily slumping, my abdominals have to work. Now, when I can go no further forward through the spine, I am going to reach a little bit through, kind of with a little bit of hip flexion. I'm going to reach forward. I take a breath in. I exhale and I want to feel the pelvis resting down, seat bones. I stack up through the lower back, through the rib cage, through the shoulder, and through the neck, and finally the head. So our spine stretched forward. Exhale, gently peeling off that wall. Segmental movement in the spine. Reaching towards the feet. Take an inhale. Exhale, stack back up. Pelvis anchors down. Stack right over the pelvis. The rib block, the chest block, the head block. One more. Exhaling. Head floats or peels off the wall. Shoulders, ribs, reaching to the feet. We take a breath in. We exhale to stack. Pelvis is your first block. Rib cage your second block. Chest and head. Thank you.